Today on the Lowdown,
Crash course on divorce.
that rhyme, that did rhyme. Welcome to Lending Lowdown, the show that takes the mystery out of the mortgage. I'm your host, Nick Gundrum. Divorce. Even here in Wisconsin, there's a divorce for every 2.2 marriages, according to the Department of Health Services in 2014.
Oh, come on, baby.
So let's get into what that means when you're owning a home. Let me just do some legal stuff and tell you that I'm not a divorce attorney, and anything that I'm saying here is just one guy's opinion.
Okay.
Alright, so this typically goes one of two ways. Either nobody wants the house and you sell it, or someone wants the house and they want to keep it. If you're the person that wants to keep the home, you typically have to pay the other person their share of the equity that was accrued during the marriage. And to figure that out, it's just a simple calculation of subtracting what is owed on the property to what it's worth. That's equity. The more you know. So let's pretend that you owe $100,000 on a $200,000 property. Unless otherwise negotiated, you would owe the other party $50,000. If you have the cash or retirement savings to pull that out, just pay the person and be done with it. If you don't, you have to do a cash out refinance or pull the money out of a home equity line of credit. Let's get into that, because that's a different can of worms. That's a pretty good take. Maybe cut off the can of worms part, because I got an email in the corner, it distracted me. But there's three big parameters that have to be met in order for us to secure a loan with the other person now off. One, you have to qualify for the loan yourself. If someone else is going to be on the loan with you that isn't a relative helping you out, that might be the reason for the divorce now that I think about it, so it's probably not the first time you would have approached that situation. Two, you have to wait until the divorce is finalized. These things are public record. You can CCAP them at any time. So we're going to find out if you have a divorce pending settlement. We have to know if there's alimony and child support or separate maintenance involved, that we have our debt to income ratios and everything else on a loan correct. It has to be signed by the judge and filed with the courts. And lastly, a cash out refinance cannot exceed 80% of the home's value. So if the home is worth $200,000, the loan amount can't exceed $160,000. The exception to this is in a divorce where you're only paying off the mortgage and the ex-spouse. This can be considered a rate and term refinance, and you're allowed to go up to 95% loan to value. That is an exception that most people don't know of or are aware of. Another very popular question that I get in these circumstances is, can I use the appraisal that we use to determine the home's value when deciding how much I had to pay the other person? Fortunately, the answer is no. You are considered an interested party, which means that you could have inflated or deflated that value with influence to get what you need for the divorce settlement. We take all that out of there and just do it ourselves. Just as an aside here, on a personal note, just me talking, but please pay the minimums on all of your debt when you're going through this. I know divorce sucks. It never ends well. There's always a he said, she said thing, but what is not a he said, she said thing is your credit score. If someone racked up credit card debt, that is a huge bummer. Just make sure the minimums are paid, especially if your name is on it. Because if you have a legitimate 30-day late, there's nothing that I can do about it, and your scores will go down a lot. And your rate and terms are going to be much worse on the loan if you can even get a mortgage at all. So please, just bite the bullet, swallow the pride, and get the minimums paid for during these things, and don't sabotage each other. You want to get rid of each other. Don't let yourself linger around in each other's lives for more than you have to. I'll just say it again, no two divorces are alike. This is just what happens. Tune in next week and I'll tell you just how important your credit score actually is. See ya!